Today on Chris Dyer's Creative Friends.
I believe that graffiti, and especially this modern graffiti, is a way for nature to rebel, to check people out of the hypnosis of what is normal in a progressing society. It's like you go deep enough and then you start to see visions of the future, and they're all invitations, and you see them and either you love them or you reject them. But I see them and it says, this is what can be. Here are all the steps it takes to do that, and it's up to you to do it. And either you feel motivated to do it or you don't. There are all these different ways to access that pool of imagination that we are all tethered to. I say that we exist within the imagination of God. And even that term God, whatever that is, we all exist within this network of it. And there is no escaping it. Even if you acknowledge all this as nothing, it is a held together network that we belong to, and it's building and it's expanding. Man, I wanted to peel an orange.
Yeah, you can peel your orange.
No, but I've put on this stuff all over my hands.
Oh, and now you're all greasy.
I'm just gonna have to eat a little bit of sunblock.
Well, I'm sure it's good for you. Okay, so before we talk, let me plug my beautiful sponsors, YAK Snacks. YAK Snacks are these very delicious psilocybin mushroom gummies, 1/4 gram each one. They have been sponsoring this show for the last few episodes. I'm super grateful. They keep me in a very good mood. I love microdosing in general. I think it's very good for my connection to the spiritual world. Not that I need any medicine to connect me, but just a little bit of help always is better. So I usually take 1 gummy per episode. Would you like one, Joseph?
Can you put it in my mouth? Because I got sunblock and pause.
Yeah. Woo! All right, and we'll be a little bit activated for this episode. Salud.
Paulina, can you make my hair look good?
Your hair looks amazing.
I don't know, like maybe put one to one side or something like that, or like look at me in the front.
Okay, let's see. What
Yeah,
you got going on?
give me some strength, girl.
Yeah.
I think let me check this angle here.
Yeah. So if you guys want to get some YAK Snacks, just go to their Instagram.
All right, thank you.
Do you want a little more rubbing in of the sunscreen because you got like a big white?
Yeah, help me out. Help a brother out. You don't need to rub it in for me, but just let me know what's going on.
You got. It's better.
Better?
A little more blending up on the.
Am I all greasy looking now?
Well, from how far back you're sitting, no. Let me get that a little bit wiped in there.
Yeah, help me out. Thank you.
Okay, there you go. Now you got it.
Thank you.
You guys have fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Paulina. So yeah, so if you'd like to acquire some YAK Snacks, hit them up on Instagram and tell them I sent you, so they know that you watched the show.
Well, it tastes good.
It's good, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have that like mushroomy kind of taste to it.
Yeah. I almost want to eat more, but I don't want to go over.
Yeah, it has that kind of quality about it. What is it, like strawberry or something? What is that?
This is peach mango mushroom gummies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's delicious. I almost want to get some more, but like I got a class to teach later today, so I should keep my consciousness, and like not too airy.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyways, Joseph, thank you so much for doing the show again. It's been like almost 3 years since the last time we filmed a conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's just like recording one of our many conversations that we have.
Ooh, we have so many conversations, but sometimes we like to capture it for the people.
Yeah, it's nice to do that.
I got so many questions for you. I don't know if I should ask you how your life has been lately, or maybe we can focus on where we're at right here, right now.
You're the DJ.
So,
you're on the wheels of steel, bro.
DJ Dyer. So like...
Hey, what's your DJ name?
Selector L Flyer.
What?
Selector L Flyer.
Selector L Flyer.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. How'd you come up with that?
Well, L Flyer was my nickname as a teenager because I always looked kind of stoned with my squinty eyes and my big teeth. Mm-hmm. So I was like L Flyer Dyer.
L Flyer Dyer.
And, I select music from vinyl. So, yeah, pretty much.
Selector.
So, Joseph, tell us where we are today.
We are in Kauai, Hawaii, in Kapa. Kapa, how do you say it?
Kapa, I think. I don't know.
Kapa.
I might get it wrong. But what are we doing out here in Hawaii?
Well, you invited me out here to be a part of your art retreat. Chris Dyer's, what's the name of your art retreat?
It's just like Omni Chakra Visionary Art Retreat with Chris Dyer and
Yeah.
Paulina Casati, my lady, is guest teacher. And I would say you and Peru are also guest teachers to some degree, unofficially. It was like a surprise for all the students to come here and to have more badass artists like yourself. How's the experience so far?
I love it. For me, I just enjoy being around other people in their process of creativity and being able to have conversations about it. I feel that when we create, we enter into places where we're bringing something through. And in the patterns of that, we're familiar with it, but we're not always putting it into language. Most artists might be in a situation where they're painting alone in the studio and they're not really expressing in the moment what they're doing. So it's cool to be in the company of others and then having to put yourself in a position to use the English language to describe something that is abstract.
Yeah, I love art workshops, both as a teacher and student, and in every occasion you are teacher student because you always got something to learn from somebody else, and vice versa. But especially when we call it like visionary art or spiritual art to focus, it's like we're coming with a certain intention to create as we commune with feelings and visions of the other dimensions that exist, especially when we do a psychedelic experience, you know, intertwined with it. How was your Santo Daime experience a couple of days ago?
Well, yeah, I'm very happy to be here in Kauai, in Kappa, on the property of Judea, Christine, and her partner Jay, and her family.
It's so beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's nice to kind of gaze over there at the waterfalls and be in a place where there's no poison ivy and non-predatory animals and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, crazy,
and
huh?
It just being naturally beautiful and all, and it's a good place to unwind and process. And in the way that we did through ceremony, it takes it to a whole other level. It's my first time ever doing a ceremony in the daytime, where the darkness is not a collaborator. It kind of puts you in a position of being in a place that you're not normally in.
A little bit vulnerable?
Yeah, without anywhere to turn. You know, you could close your eyes and fall into your meditation, your hypnosis.
Yeah.
But even if you close your eyes, there's still an attachment to the time of day, to the light in your space, and the conditions outside of the building that you're in.
It's almost like you're exposed, and it doesn't have to be like a vulnerable thing, but you can't hide. And like I blindfold myself so I can go inside. Sometimes I feel like I'm like hiding from the group by just going inside, but I find the most interesting things are inside. But then you open up your eyes and you see all these people channeling interdimensional beings, and it's fascinating, especially in that path of Umbanda that is basically like mediumship training. I wish I had some paper for you, but
no, I have it.
You got some.
I have it.
Well prepared.
It's fun to sit with you in ceremony. You're very, as I said to you earlier, you're a grounding spirit to have in the space. So as much as I was going through different reflections or experiencing something that felt a bit further than my baseline, I feel like if I looked over and I saw you just kind of grooving or going through your process, it helped to ground me.
Nice. It makes me happy, man. Yeah, I'm just trying to shine good vibes all around me, or I can't help it. Even it was so weird because in that ceremony, when they called the spirit of Yemanja, which is a watery spirit, which is attached to emotion, and I'm a watery person as a Pisces, I just felt so much feeling in my chest, and it was not specific happy or sad. It was almost both, and it wasn't uncomfortable, but it was kind of strange because I never really felt both happiness and sadness at the same time and so intensely. So then I'm just like dancing through it. I'm just like, all right, let's just shine light, let's just shine good vibes, and hopefully that influences the group in a good way, and then that bounces back to me, and we can all intertwine a good collective vibration.
Well, happiness and sadness, that's like kind of like the Smiths or something like that, where you're listening to kind of introspective music that processes a heavy emotion, but somehow it's comforting. Yeah, happiness and sadness all at the same time.
Totally. You've done like, quite a few ayahuasca ceremonies in the past?
Yes, if I'm somewhere around 20 now, and I just enjoy the experience of it. Being able to work through, do some, take a look inside of myself. It's like maintenance on your archive. It's like spring cleaning. If we have room for that in our lives, to yeah, just to take a look at everything. Sometimes we put things in the closet and we say, I'm going to organize that later, I'm going to organize that later. And just anything, any sort of meditation or time to create paragraphs in, the story. And then even further create chapters in the story, the better. So I appreciate coming out here and experiencing the traditional practices in the tell me, say it the right way.
Santo Daime
Not yet.
or Umbanda?
Santo Daime / Umbanda.
Umbandaime.
Umbandaime.
Yeah.
I'm very bad with these.
Portuguese words.
Yeah, I keep hearing them and I want to retain them, but there's quite a few other kind of things going on.
There's so much to learn. The
Yeah.
portobellos, I can't even really get it.
Yeah.
But did any specific message come through on this ceremony for you? Any messages, any homeworks, any spirits coming through saying hello?
Yes, homework, yes. I look forward to the homework. And you don't need to be, a hippie with your head in the clouds to pull something from a break. I think people go on vacations in the hopes of shifting their attention for a while, so that when they return, they can approach it maybe from a new trained behavior. So being here, I appreciate that opportunity to pause and not have to get up and rush anywhere, and be around creative folks, and turn my attention inward in a new way. Doing ayahuasca in the daytime is it's different. It's different, and it's like doing DMT in the daytime. It feels like it's living, like it involves more of your awareness, like the awareness that you incorporate into your day-to-day is more present in the ceremony. So there's parts of it that maybe we let go of in order to tune into like the Shipibo way. So I appreciate it for what it is, and I did my best to just sort of go with the flow and follow through with it. And when they called in the spirits, when they called in the spirits and you know, people are going under in what they call incorporation, when a spirit is entering their bodies and they're expressing that. They create room for that spirit to exist and behave in the space. They call it in, and when that started to happen, I ended up going down to the floor, and I couldn't stand, and I was feeling like this great, like an unusual momentum of yawning, and this energy, you know, entered me. It like kind of came in this way and came in and kind of seated itself on me, and that's a very surprising thing, you know, like all this kind of spirituality stuff. I went into it as a skeptic, as someone who was pushed into religion, and it's like believe it or else. If you question, you're an atheist. That kind of way, you know, follow the recipe or else. And that can be very, very traumatizing for people, and they decide to DJ their adulthood without that influence or without that commitment to these practices that they feel detached from. So when an individual might decide to return to concepts of belief in themselves, or concepts of a belief in an energy that exists outside of the realm of time, it's a confrontation, or it's a remembering, or it's
an awakening,
or it's a soothing dance. But for me, you know, some energy coming into my body, I was like, whoa, hold on a second, who are you? You know, like no introduction. It's like
no first date or anything.
yeah,
You're
it's
just
like
coming in.
being at an orgy, and all of a sudden someone's trying to
Jump your bones.
Jump your bones. It's like, whoa, slow your roll, bro. You know. But it was something. It's like I couldn't deny that there was something there, and I think the fear-based kind of judgments of that are like, oh, it's like a possession, or oh, maybe it's demonic, or it's witchcraft. It's
something negative.
It's the kind of stuff that they you know, kill witches for and all that kind of stuff. But it's not quite that, and it does involve quite a bit of consent. I think I got a hint of it, and I just started to feel that energy kind of sweep into my body, and it became overwhelming. I laid on my side into a fetal position and just tried to retreat away from it. The scent in the air was very thick with copal, and the chants were becoming more and more hypnotizing. The singing was becoming more and more amplified. And there was no escaping this feeling, so I turned to my side to withdraw within, and the caretakers turned me on my back, and you know, they've seen this sort of thing before with people being impacted by this moment in the ceremony, and I did my best to sort of follow that guidance. I instead of having my hands down at the floor, I put them on me, because my hands were. It feels like when your leg falls asleep and there's that kind of vibratory sort of alarm bell of discomfort, and it's time to move your leg or turn your side in bed or whatever it may be. It was coming out of my hands, but just at a rate that I'm never used to. It was just so heavy.
It's like catharsis.
I don't quite know how to say it, but it was just like I'd put my hands down. I'd be like, wait a second, this is some good juice. I should plug it back into me. And then I feel like I want to put it down, and then I put it back into me. And I ended up being on my back, and it felt like childbirth. I was kind of brought to these moments of of my mother bringing me into this world.
Wow.
And going through some of the emotions that a mother transfers to a child. Some of the kind of the checklist of how to survive in this world that you're entering into. I feel that the mother, of course, does more than feed and house and nourish a body before it's born into this world. I believe that there's energetic stuff going on that's retained by the child, and a lot of that kind of sits deep in the subconscious of the individual, and you can see, like, if you get lost on your phone, people talking about instances of past life regression, or having a deep spiritual experience where they're remembering, say, being in the womb. I'm sure people talking about ceremonies, somebody talking about being in the womb, or being born into the world, death and rebirth, all this kind of stuff seems to play a lot in the remembering that people go through with these kind of experiences.
That's beautiful, man. I'm so happy you got some good healing out of it.
Yeah, I love it. It's like it's scary and beautiful at the same time. When we can let go of some of the rigidness that is involved with maintaining the idea of who you are. Sometimes those patterns become dizzying enough that we consider it normal.
Yeah.
And it drives people to places maybe that they don't want to be, and they just have to compromise or deal with it. It's that check engine light that stays on, and it's just a part of your relationship with that vehicle.
Yeah.
Some people are used to driving with the check engine light. Others, they're willing to run it into the ground. They treat their vehicle like a hoopty, and they say, well, if I get 100,000 miles out of it, I'm lucky. People treat themselves like that. Some people treat their cars better than they do themselves, their bodies.
Right.
So these are wonderful moments to reflect on your own relationship with that. And I don't think there is any right or wrong. It's really just what's right for you.
Right. Seems like you've been in a process of reinvention and rediscovery from different versions of yourself, because you've been. I don't want to say that you've been in different boxes, but we all humans put ourselves in different boxes of I am this, and then you slowly have to liberate yourself and then find out what is inside there all along and see who we really are in the moment, in the today. How has that process of reinvention been for you all these past 5 years?
Well,
or all your life,
I think it's just a whole big process, and there's different chapters. For you, there are chapters of living in Canada, then living in Peru, and then moving back to Canada, and then going to the States, and within that there are even more chapters. I think that at a certain point, when it's no longer us being in a position of not being in a driver's seat with our lives, being a child, and the parent is in the driver's seat, let's say. When you end up in that place where you can make the choices that alter the idea of who you are, and alter your routines, we can do more, and we could get really good at doing more, and maybe we could do things that are just completely outside of the norm of how we see ourselves. And like you say, these boxes, they're all imaginary boxes. They're just ways for people to understand you. It's language. There are ways that we can escape language itself.
Because it's not like you've stopped being an artist or stopped doing graffiti. You still carry that as one of the feathers in your array of expression, but it's not the essence of it. The essence of you is like a soul that can express with art and graffiti, but also so many more ways that you discover as you just allow yourself to be.
Yeah. I think that we could be whatever we want.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really, think of a child, a child before 7 years old. They are completely willing to try and experience anything that's considered fun, that's considered play without that judgment. But maybe it doesn't just have to be for kids. It could be for all of us. That child exists inside of all of us. That little Joseph, that little Christopher.
The
is very,
crianzas.
yeah. What do they call
The
them?
crianzas, the child spirits.
They call it this?
Well, remember yesterday in the fire we were talking about how there's the different enlightened spirits that come through the Umbanda channelings, and some of them are the crianzas, the enlightened kids that died early, but then they come and serve.
Yeah.
And we're just tapping into that spirit.
Yeah, I'm very terrible at these vocabulary words.
Right.
But yeah, what?
Crianzas.
Crianzas.
Uh-huh.
There's the crianzas, and then there's us.
Uh-huh.
And there's that essence of us that always exists, that you can find in a senior citizen, and you can find it within yourself. It's that innocent aspect of ourselves that sometimes we reject, sometimes we starve, sometimes we overindulge in satisfying. Sometimes we are with that energy that exists in us, that childlike energy in us. Some of us are enablers of that, and there are these people that reject these moments to say, well, you know, I'm 25 years old and I'm supposed to be X, Y, and Z. Or I'm 35 years old and I'm supposed to be at this level or that level. There are some people who are very rebellious to these tellings that that their perspective feels is being said to them. And there is no right or wrong in that. And it's just really what's right for you in that moment, and that's all subject to change. For me, I'm down to just follow. Like I'm past worrying about being this type of person or that type of person. I'm just more fascinated with the understandings of what it is to be alive and to contribute to this world. And this world is a very layered place, and there's quite a bit going on. And I'm trying to process my own issues with this world, my own relationships with things that maybe I don't enjoy in others. We exist in a world where there is tragic things happening in other parts of this world that are just so morally obvious. It's so obvious that morally it's wrong.
Yeah.
And all we can do is double tap.
Yeah.
Or
I agree that that's bad.
Or repost and what can you do at that point? You
pray.
Can It's like yesterday at the fire. Pray. And really what is praying is just taking a moment to sit and put your hands like this or go like this. You know, all these recipes for prayer.
Or just communicating with whatever idea of the Most High you might have, and give it thanks for the positive future that I hope we can all experience eventually.
You don't have to make chicken franchise. You don't have to follow a recipe. I think that once you come to a point within yourself, the idea of prayer does not necessarily have to follow a recipe.
Yeah. Or be connected to religion.
Yeah, or be connected to religion. It's just really, it all begins with yourself. And you will end up finding your community when you find a stable relationship with accessing that part of yourself that grounds you. So, and that really is just about getting back to that relationship that you had with this world when you were a child, that maybe got clouded up or got broken like a horse, becoming a utility in this world rather than a being that is here to have fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming here and you know, joining this little community of well-intentioned artists and psychics and mediums that I've come together in this retreat, and a special, you know, one of my best friends, Judea, which you know, I wanted you to meet her for so long, and you met her briefly in the last Miami Art Basel, and made the connection there, and now you've come here and properly met her at her own place.
Oh, it's thoroughly fun.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
reflections about you know, some connections you might have with her.
Yeah. Well, for me, I just enjoy a deep conversation,
Uh-huh.
a conversation that exercises intuition, and it lets go of logic a bit, and it welcomes in other types of energies that we assign to other parts of our understanding of the body and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm drawn to all that. So coming here and engaging in this group and speaking openly about stuff that maybe is difficult to put into language or
Yeah.
difficult to hear coming out of your mouth.
It's kind of taboo to admit that you believe in psychics or spirits and stuff, but you grew up with aunties that had those abilities, so your mind was open from a young age, right?
Yeah, and I don't think you even need to grow up with that. It's just, I think maybe there is a part of us that is hypnotized by the possibilities of imagination. Children are not wanting to sit in front of the TV. A 4 or 5-year-old is not wanting to sit in front of the TV and watch CNBC and get stock reports. You know, they want to be taken away into that world of imagination that usually involves bright colors and play and universal understandings of compassion. All this kind of stuff. Children are drawn to it, and then we move away. We move away to responsibility, the trappings of responsibility, and
Adulting.
the ways to maintain the ideas of ourselves to the point that it destroys ourselves. And then we might hit a point of having a crisis of some sort. And there are different stages in our development that we have those crises. You know, maybe we have a heavy reflection at 21, we have another one at 30, we have another one at 40 and 50 and 60. Whatever it is, whatever number means something to you, somehow these kind of big life-changing instances might come around that time. And it all goes back to how you feel. How you feel has an influence in the way things play out. So if you are on a path of even just understanding the power of your feelings and how it ties into everything else, you then can be conscious of it. You can be aware of it in the moment, and you can allow it or feed it in such a way. It's like gardening. It's understanding that you know, it's not just where if you're planting something, it's not just where you plant it, and it's not just the soil. It's not just the water. There are other aspects of tending to the garden that make a difference. And I think that we here, and we're being raised here, we might not be plugged into the ground the same way a tree is, but we very much are tethered to this planet. And the way we calibrate that makes it a tremendous impact, not just physically, but also
Vibrationally.
Vibrationally, energetically, emotionally. So art, you know, for me, art is such a lovely therapy for that. It keeps that spirit alive that we were all born into this world with, that part of ourselves that doesn't remember. You know, you say you people might think like, oh well, I want to take my 2-year-old daughter to Disney World. And then someone might say, well, why would you take your 2-year-old daughter to Disney World? You should wait until she gets older because she's not going to remember any of it.
Mm-hmm.
And people might hesitate to do something really awesome with their child because they think maybe they're not going to remember it later on.
Yeah.
But really, I feel like this is the most vulnerable time. This is the most effective time. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that you need to take your kid to Disney World.
Yeah. But just give it a good feeling, regardless if it remembers or not.
Yeah, I think that at that time, as we're just a fresh soul absorbing into this world, there's a lot going on there, and it's really open, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. When we start retaining our memories, we start storing our memories in our bodies, and we can meet someone as we do. We could meet someone and they'd be like, hey, what's going on, Joe? And then I look at them and I go through my computer to access who they are. And maybe it's somebody I haven't seen in 20 years. And I'd say, so-and-so? Like, yeah, it's me. Oh, shit. Oh, what's up, man? You know, like, how's it going? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Where is that database?
Yeah.
Where does that exist? Is it in the cloud?
Yeah, the
Or is
Akashic
it in
records.
is it in the cloud, or is it
Yeah.
also, is it in the cloud? Yes. Is it in our physical hard drive? Is it in the telephone called Joseph?
Yeah.
Is it there too?
Are we just the avatar that's picking up the thoughts that are being thought from some other dimension, but we perceive it as us being in a body, but really, like, where's the thought contained? They say the brain, but that's just the hardware. But
It's both. It's all of it.
what is the spirit?
Yeah.
You know, and where is that located? Well, I appreciate your development, especially because you're almost like, I don't want to say like ambassador, it sounds very pompous, but in the world of graffiti art, that's very like, kind of like a tough street, kind of art culture. You're kind of like one of the first ones to kind of like come out of the closet as a spiritual being, as somebody who works with medicine, and you've been introducing IN, DNT, etc., to other perhaps rough characters and opened up their minds and hearts. What is this process that you're doing and why you do it? Hi, we take this little pause from our conversations for me to let you know that I got a brand new art book. This is my second art book, Shamanic Journey, that just came out with Last Gasp Publications. It's a 256-page book, full color, shiny, beautiful pages with full of my art, writing, stories, basically everything I've done in the last 13 years. And I worked really hard on this book. It took me months to lay out by myself, and obviously the art has been a labor of love of many years, and I've condensed it all in this beautiful book that now is available on positcreations.net. You can get a signed version, you can get an unsigned version for a little bit cheaper. And yeah, this won't run out of electricity. On this digital world where we gotta charge everything, or a solar flare could knock out the electricity of the world and you'd be like, whoa, where did all my Chris Dyer go? No, this runs on energy forever. You never gotta charge it, you never gotta water it. It'll always be there to give you new inspiration and art. And I've done this with a lot of love, and I hope that you will get a copy for your own personal library. And reflect yourself in it and make your own book and story of your life. But here's mine, and I hope you will enjoy it. positcreations.net. Thank you.
The friends of mine that come from the graffiti community that introduced me to these things. There are people that it is an aspect of their life and it is something that they openly share, but it's not a it's not necessarily
On the
something that,
forefront.
yeah, it's not a part of their marketing package of who they are.
Yeah. Not that you use it as that neither.
I'm just me. I don't know. Like I found it more difficult to hide my identity than to share it.
Uh-huh.
I just said, well, you know, I'm fine with you knowing what my face looks like. I just don't care. I'm just gonna do what I feel. I reached a point in my life where I just didn't want to apologize to anyone anymore for my behavior. And I was just going to be on a committed path of doing the best I could to respect myself and to respect others through the choices that I create. And I'm not always going to get it right. Sometimes I'm going to be straight out disrespectful, but I should be willing to apologize and learn from these experiences. And I have, and I will, and I do. And it's gotten me to this point that there is contrast between the idea of me, say, 10 years ago to now. And that's the hope in being a human, is that we can evolve, that you don't have to be the same character that existed in 1998 wearing the same Timberland boots, the same Champion hoodie, and listening to Mobb Deep and doing a Throwback Thursday paint session with your boys. Like that's graffiti, you know, like for some graffiti guys, that's the radio station that they listen to. They're on that Hot 97 mindset. And that's cool. That's cool that people are like that. Mm-hmm. You know, I have loved ones in my life that's the way they are. They're going to ride classic rock into the sunset, and that's the soundtrack of their life, and that's totally fine. Mm-hmm. But for me, I'm an artist, and I accept that one. I like the idea of being a creative soul, and my spirit didn't get broken by adulthood. It stayed alive. I found a way to be abstract and practical all in one. And sometimes I lean more towards abstract, sometimes I lean more towards practical, but it's a dance. And some of us are really good at it, some of us struggle with it. Mm-hmm. And maybe sometimes there's ups and downs, and sometimes we really need those downs. Sometimes we need to hit those bottoms just to connect with our emotions. Sometimes we get so lured by something that progressively takes us so far away from a sense of self, a sense of emotion. And when we're way up there, we might hit a point where we drop down and we hit the ground and we get knocked off our asses. And
ask what does it all mean?
We're right. And
what is it for? What's the goal?
Yeah. And for some people, hitting that bottom is a make or break time. For some people, it's a foreshadowing of a looming death, you know, like we were talking the other day about Jimi Hendrix, you know, mm-hmm. His singing about his mortality, or Notorious B.I.G., his rapping about what's to come, or Tupac, or any of these kind of characters mm-hmm. that remind us of ourselves.
Yeah.
That you don't need to be Nostradamus to be driving your vehicle and to see at the ahead of the road that the bridge is ending. Mm-hmm. You know, you could either slow down, stop, pull over, get off an exit, or turn around. Mm-hmm. It's up to you, or just drive off like Thelma and Louise and hold hands with maybe somebody you love. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Hopefully, if you're gonna die, you might as well not die alone.
Yeah.
You know, whatever the case is, it's your fantasy, it's your life. You can do it as you want, and mm-hmm. For me, I think that at the end of the day, when you are at that confrontation of death, of an ending, you might just come to appreciate all of it. And you might even miss those moments where you felt pain, you felt despair, something really valuable was had and lost. Mm-hmm. These are the qualities that come from being human and experiencing life. They are what defines being alive. So in this journey of self-reflection and going through different activities to connect with ourselves, not just within you and your vehicle, but externally and this planet and all that. It doesn't have to be. There is no one way. There are many different approaches to this, and they exist in different cultures, different peoples, and so on and so forth. And sometimes it's nice to bounce around and experience different ways. It's like going out to eat and just saying, you know what kind of food do I want to eat? They're all making chicken. They're all sauteing vegetables. They're all using a lot of the same ingredients, but they just kind of they prepare it differently and they plate it differently. And the decor might be different. You know, I think that we can be someone who's like a foodie, and you can sort of go and experience different ways to connect with yourself. And you might start to develop favorites. You might say, you know what, like my favorite thing to eat in the afternoon is Indian buffet.
What is this analogy about though? Like, you know, what are these new experiences that...
Well, spiritual practices.
Right. That now you're sharing with your friends.
Yeah. And going to church on Sunday at a Roman, like I took my dad to church quite a bit this winter in Brooklyn. My father is getting a little bit more forgetful as he gets older. He has symptoms of dementia and maybe some other things going on, and I just feel it valuable just to spend time with him and get to understand myself through that opportunity to have a relationship with him. And to get him out of the house, I've been a catalyst for experiences, like creating all sorts of opportunities for him to do things. And I've done everything from taking him on roller coasters, taking him to hipster parties, taking him to church, and just finding an appreciation for all and any of it.
You've been healing your relationship with your father lately, eh?
Yeah, well, I didn't grow up with him. I met my father during this whole journey of looking into the idea of who I am. I met my father at 39 years old.
Did I hear correctly, or there was so many conversations going at the dinner table, but did I hear that you were guided through DMT to find him?
Well, in my first breakthroughs, I had a breakthrough with DMT. I went into DMT the same way that, like, let's say there's a man on stage that does hypnosis, and he's like hypnotizing people on stage, and you think that maybe these people on stage are faking it, or they're in on it with that person, you know. I went into these kind of experiences as the skeptic.
Which is healthy.
Which is healthy. I felt like that's going to keep me grounded. I don't want to just lose myself in the clouds and let that be a distorted version of me to myself. I wanted to keep that grounding and that skepticism about all of this, and I ventured deep enough into it that there were affirmations that I couldn't deny. And then I had to digest that reality that there was something that when we confront something that is outside of the understanding of our normal, we call it crazy, or we call it magic, or we call it something else,
or
yeah,
hippie, or
right.
weird, or cool, depending on your perspective of your relationship with it.
So for me, I've had to get past. I've had to figure out a way to reduce the amount of fear, the fear responses with all these things. And I found that the more I could just sort of relax into all of this and just see it as imagination, I began to just understand that we all talk about exercising your imagination. The word imagination is a big part of our vocabulary. We encourage children to use their imagination. But what is that imagination? Is it a real thing? Is it a fictitious thing? It inspires this world. Without imagination, would we build a house? Would we wear such cool clothes and Macho Man Randy Savage sunglasses? You know, it's imagination that inspires us to add a bit of depth into these things that we do to live.
Uh-huh.
And how I was able to let go into deeper relationships of imagination is to just accept that I'm an artist. You know, and that's a big part, because I've devoted most of my life to being a creative person, to being an artist, and I struggled with that because graffiti wasn't introduced to me as art. It was introduced to me as vandalism, as an addiction, not a passion. It was something that I needed to abandon and change that creative direction in order to gain acceptance for others. And if I could be accepted by others, well, then I could accept myself. And I kind of come to a place of acceptance within myself that I am an artist and that graffiti is that. And in fact, I had a reflection the other day in our ceremony that graffiti is nature's rebellion. In thinking about it, like, you have a system that exists, and you have these individuals that want to express themselves in that environment. So if you if they excavate the areas of Pompeii and they discover the graffiti on the walls in Pompeii, it tells a very honest story from the perspective of one individual about life. It's a rebellion towards whatever it is that they're dealing with. And graffiti is that, even if it's people who fall in love with penmanship and having a way of writing that is more than their name. Their artistic identity transcends a word, and we marry ourselves to words in graffiti. I've been writing the name Rime since I was 13 years old, and it means a thin coating or layer on a surface of rhyme ice.
Oh, really? I thought it was like rhyme and rhythm.
No, R-H-Y. Well, like in French, rhyming and rhythm is spelled R-I-M-E. In American English, it's R-H-Y-M-E.
Okay.
And then there's this little used word called R-I-M-E. I originally was going to write rule, R-U-L-E, but then I thought maybe some other people wrote it, and I wrote it for a few days, and then I switched the middle to be rhyme. And it's kind of funny like that. I turned away from rule and even the meaning of rule and following rules to rhyme, which is like
more creative.
There are rules in poetry. There are rules in flow and movement in rhyming, but it can be bent. You know, like the way like Eminem will bend the use of the English language and pronunciation to make things go together that normally don't. Great artists have that ability to do that.
Do you still like your name after all these years of carrying it, or is it another box by now?
I feel more like a Joseph. You know, people who call me Rhyme or whatever. It's just people that don't know me. It'd be like an actor or something like that. It'd be like Robert De Niro telling people to call him Bob or something like that. To me, it's just something that I do, and it very much is a part of me. I believe that graffiti, and especially this modern graffiti, is a way for nature to rebel, for nature to create a counter to all of this development, to check people out of the hypnosis of what is normal in a progressing society. And if used correctly, graffiti can be very powerful. You can say more than your name. You can move people. And even with graffiti itself, if I just go the rest of my life, just every time I go painting under a bridge or on a train or on a this or a that, whatever I decide, if I just continued to just paint my name, there's so much woven into that, subconsciously and then consciously woven into that I can move people emotionally. So if anyone is a fan of you or what you do, there's something more than you say, painting a picture of a cat. There's a lot more to it. It's a lot deeper than that. And it's through that journey of self-expression that we can connect with others and inspire others to find it within themselves in whatever way they want. You know, it doesn't have to be painting a canvas or painting a train bridge or something like that. It's just really about living. But yeah, I thought about a lot that graffiti is nature's rebellion. You know, it's a very it's like a punk rock, and even graffiti as an art movement is very punk rock to the all these different defined periods of art. And I think that my interest in continuing to do graffiti is because I really do love it. I love graffiti as an art movement, and I feel proud to be a graduate of the School of Graffiti. More so than going to an accredited university and having them hand me a piece of paper that proves I'm a good artist. I feel that I went another way, a more difficult way of painting without waiting for the invitation or the opportunity, and going through all of the ins and outs of inspiring and upsetting people, and doing it all to the point that at the end of the day I have some level of respect reflected back at me. To be able to express yourself and hold your name and stand up for whatever it is that's morally right for you, and for it to be in a rhythm, to me that's success. And I really do, I think that my continued effort to do graffiti is because I truly believe that this art movement is not something I should be abandoned to be a successful artist. I feel that it's going to go on to be something that it's done so much to keep the spirit and the value that comes from making art alive.
So you still got a good relationship with doing graffiti and the world of graffiti.
Yeah, because a lot of people that are drawn to graffiti, I mean, people come from different backgrounds. There's people that come from great families, nurturing families. They come from money. They don't come from money. But there's something within a person that exists, a disposition that turns to this outlet as a way of self-expression, and they're trying to understand themselves through it. You can do it with skateboarding. You could devote your life to skateboarding, and you could have a spiritual conversation to a seasoned skateboarder about skateboarding, and they would understand. They'd be able to describe it. But through their experiences, or tennis, if I was talking to Serena Williams about the spiritual philosophies of tennis, I could hold a conversation with her, even though I don't professionally play tennis. We could sort of find a universal relation there.
Right. So you're observing graffiti that you do and the movement or the scene or whatever as a spiritual movement in a way. And once again, I feel like you're more consciously trying to bring some of the healing that comes through a spiritual path, at least to the friends around you that are open to at least try a new approach to it.
Yeah, well, when I get together with my friends and we go paint because we enjoy painting and we have a good time doing it, and we enjoy some of the thrills that come from putting your name in a place where you're not supposed to. And if we had permission to do some of the things that we do, it wouldn't be as fun. So there's a level of risk involved. And if you've been kind of behaving in a way where there's a level of thrill and risk involved in doing these things and bending the concepts of what's normal and what's not, to alter a space where somebody is driving down an empty highway one day and then the next day they're confronted with something big, bold, and colorful, and it looks like it's completely unsanctioned, it snaps people out of their hypnosis for that moment. And there are some of us that have devoted our lives to doing that. those characters, those graffiti artists, they're like people who like spicy food all the time, and for them to eat food without hot sauce in it, it's not as exciting. So those types of characters who are friends of mine, because we all share similar intensities, I said, hey man, like if you really like that, like going and sitting in this stuff and going through these experiences, there's parts of it that can feel scary and intense and overwhelming, but creatively explosive. And it's done so much to help me to be able to enthusiastically see a future in my wisdom years, my years from 40 and up, becoming a wise person. Like the wizard at the top of the hill is the wise man, and I don't think the wizard at the top of the hill is reporting to his job at Home Depot. Or maybe he is. I don't know. So I've just brought my friends there because I just felt like, I said, hey man, I just experienced this something that I can't explain, and it's really intense and all that. Yeah, there's some hippies there, but the shit is dope, and you should come with me.
And let's just learn to love all humans regardless of the appearance or stylistic expression we have.
Yeah, but I think that as we get older, like a lot of my friends who we grew up very rigid, and fighting for a baseline condition of respect, whether it be through people in your own peer group, or through the elders of your community, or even with yourself. There's this struggle and fight for respect, and there's a point where you realize that it can be more effective for it not to be a physical fight, but more of a release. It doesn't have to be something that you even have to partake in. That you could just be tuned out of caring. Like for me, for me being upset by somebody, and I do get upset by people, to be upset by someone and to want to put my hands on them and assault them, it would involve me actually touching them. It would involve me actually having physical contact with a person's body. And there are just some people that if I despise them, I don't even want to touch them. I don't want to be around them.
Yeah.
And I've kind of reached that point, like when the times that I have had a fight, it was for a reason of self-defense where I was standing up for something. It's a very surreal moment because your adrenaline, or whatever the words are, your sense of self is amplified, and in some moments it feels like you're not even there. It's
like something takes over.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm being punched in the face a bunch of times, and it's like, oh, I hope I don't look bad tomorrow. These thoughts are in your head, but you're in this surreal moment of fighting. I feel like that some of that is a phase, and there are some people that they don't even want to engage in that way, and it just becomes something that they're over it. Even with me, like some of the valuing of being the most up or seen graffiti artist, that I need to be able to have a whole bunch of things visible in New York or in LA or this place or that place. All that is great, but to me, what I truly keep coming back for are the experiences of painting, and where I can exercise my love for the art form and find nuances to bring in that are new and interesting. And if it's entertaining me on a genuine level, well, then my hope is that that resonates with others. And it doesn't have to be everywhere. And it doesn't have to be a competition. And sometimes it is, and it sucks when it is. And I wish that I was better at being able to navigate those things, and I still make attempts to navigate them well, but yeah.
So where we're at in your...
Am I getting lost in the answers of your questions?
No, you're philosophizing a lot, and I like it. But
Okay.
something that I want to come back is we started talking about you healing your relationship with your father,
Oh.
the importance of that. I don't know if it came through a DMT revelation. Regardless of that, you know, what's the importance of healing a relationship with somebody who perhaps was the one who hurt you the most in your life, and why put that effort to be nice to somebody who perhaps might have broken your heart on your path in your youth? Because you're putting a lot of time going and spending time with your father, and it seems like a challenging experience in itself.
Well,
Some people would say, fuck that and move on and not address the wound, but you're like jumping right into it, which I think is pretty badass.
even if you escape a terrible situation, if you are in a position of harboring any unprocessed feelings, any difficult feelings, that if that person's name comes up and it triggers this emotional response, that you have levels of anger or levels of hate or whatever it is that you have, it's being poked. It's like if I'm walking with a splinter in my foot, every time I step, I'm going to feel that alarm bell. I'm going to feel that sensation. It's going to be there until I address the issue, until I make the effort to pull it out. The hope is that the splinter is going to push itself out and just fade away and I'll forget about it. But when it does circle back to acknowledging it and it inspires something that displeases you, well, then you have to ask yourself, does it still exist inside of me? And if
You gotta be honest.
And if it exists inside of me, well, then I'm holding it. Maybe it's up on the cloud and in the Akashic record, or maybe it's in my body. Maybe this pain in my lower back is associated to an unresolved relationship. Whatever the case is, and whatever it is that you believe, that whatever you believe is tangible at that point. Because if you even have the slightest belief that something is associated with something, well, then it is something, and maybe you could do something about it. Maybe you don't have to keep walking with a disposition. Maybe you don't need to keep driving with the check engine light on, waiting for everything to fall apart. Maybe your unresolved trauma with or feelings of abandonment towards your father has led to dead ends with relationships romantically, or relationships with friends, or your inability to feel this way or that way. So if we have the opportunity to work on those things, or if working on those things is not a possibility, that we just say, no, I've severed my connection with this person, there are other things that you can do to discover to discover those feelings and to be with them, not to escape them, not to drink them away, or even throw them up. It's to be with them, to sit with them, to love them, to nurture them, and just to find some level of peace with it, whatever that means to you. It could be, like, and I think that, again, like the child, and imagination and play, that you can play a game with yourself, and it doesn't have to be real. It could be a tea party with, with no tea. It can be a situation where you write down on a piece of paper all of your feelings about that person, and
then burn it or something.
And burn it, or put it in a bottle and throw it in the ocean. Whatever it is, whatever is fun to do.
Yeah.
If you're looking for an excuse to go drive to the beach, and you want to write some stuff down and throw it in a bottle, I think I never did that, but that'd be a good idea.
Yeah.
I would like to throw a bottle into the ocean.
Yeah, it's very Gilligan Island style.
We should throw. How about we? Hey, dog.
But isn't that littering?
No, but how about maybe if we go to the beach again here in Hawaii,
Yeah.
how about we write some letters to the universe and we throw them put them in a bottle and we throw them in the ocean, and maybe somebody, and we'll put a P.O. box on there and we'll see if they ever come back to us.
Yeah, we'll get a fine in a couple months.
No, I'm not. You see, but I'm a rebel.
Yeah,
You know, I belong to a movement of people that rebel against the flow of the society.
Yeah.
some extent.
I'm just joking, but
We'll use glass. We won't use plastic. We'll use glass.
I appreciate the amends you're doing with your.
Did I not
with your
even answer the
lineage.
thing about my dad?
In a way you did. You said that in general it's good to deal with these, I don't know, trauma might sound a little bit dramatic. Maybe you're not traumatized by your dad being absent, but like finding him at age 39 seems like almost like a miracle through some random people on 33andMe and some DMT messages, and then you, instead of being like, well, fuck that guy, you're like, all right, I'm gonna go and help this guy who's going through dementia. I think that's like a very kind, open-hearted thing to do, and I appreciate it. And you're healing like your family lineage through it, and I appreciate people who do that effort.
Well, sometimes I am like, fuck that guy. You know,
Yeah.
like when he,
Aren't we all?
well, no, but when he yells at
That's
me,
the easy way.
when he yells at me or is selfish in ways or whatever, I'm like, fuck this guy. What'd this guy ever do for me? You know, I went through processing childhood and my teenage years and adulthood, having those feelings of that I grew up without something important, that I grew up without a father. But the truth of the matter is that I've had many fathers. I've had many father figures in my life. My stepfather is Ruben Oliveira, and you know he introduced himself to us as Jose. You know, and he's been in my life since I was 4 years old, and he taught me how to ride a bike and how to play baseball and how to stand up for yourself and concepts of respect and how to be a hard worker and all of those things. He taught me all of those things, and sometimes he had a very militant way of doing that, and I had to resolve a lot of emotions for those moments where he was still trying to figure it out himself. But the one thing that I could say is that there's no way there's no way for me not to respect him. I appreciate that role he played enough to even adopt his last name into my legal last name. You know, because it's a gesture of respect. I feel that the names we wear, they're like they're badges of respect. And my father, I have many fathers. My 39-year-old meeting 39 years old meeting my father. Yeah, that's my father. But I also have, you know, Jose, my father, who much of his personality has been transferred into me. And it's helped me to be tough in moments where I was afraid or moments where I was panicking, you know, so I appreciate having that masculine role model in my life. And it took meeting my father to really appreciate it even more on a deeper level. And to have this relationship that I have with my father now, I'm meeting him at a retirement age, and I'm having to be a father to my father. And create memories with this man and be in positions where he's not giving me anything. He's not financing a security for my future or anything like that.
There's nothing for you to gain from this.
But but at the same time, there's plenty to gain from that, you know. And there was this one moment where I was driving around America in an RV and doing all this kind of soul searching in my life, and I drove after Art Basel one year. Or I went home. I went and visited my family with the RV, parked the RV, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be here for the holidays, and then I'm just going to go down south and go spend the winter down south because it's too cold. Who wants to be in New York in the start of winter? I don't. I want to get out of here. You know, it's nice to visit my family, but I got things to do. And I kept having these dreams, and these dreams that, like, were not my typical dreams. And one dream was there was a child, and there was a baby, a crocodile or an alligator or whatever. The baby's arm was inside of the mouth of the crocodile, and I had to lift the crocodile's mouth open to free this child's arm. And I was like, man, that was really weird.
Yeah, what does it
yeah,
mean?
and then the following day, I was in a concrete parking lot, and there was a concrete parking lot, and there was a warehouse, a 2 to 3 story, a 3-story warehouse, and then there was a big dumpster there, and people were jumping from the building into the dumpster and doing it for fun or thrills or whatever. And I watched as someone missed the dumpster and landed on the concrete, and that jolted me out. And I looked, I said, man, I don't know, that's weird. And like, I had traveled around the country for months, going through this big zany adventure. And then I just kind of was sleeping at my Aunt Amelia's house, just trying to catch up on rest. And then I have these alarming dreams. And I looked them up on ChatGPT, and they said something about like, now is not the time to rest. You need to get up and go on a path. There is something that is calling you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, either I kind of hang out here in the winter and process my emotions in the winter, or I get up and listen to ChatGPT and go off and go do something again.
Hi, we take a little break from our super awesome podcast show so that I, your artist friend Chris Dyer, can tell you about my brand, Positive Creations, which I have been doing for 20 years. And with this project, I share my art through different products, maybe beautiful clothes that you can use in normal life or in the festival world, or skateboards that you can ride, or games like puzzles, or kendamas and flow toys, or use slip mats for your records. Basically a lot of functional things that just add fun and magic into your existence. So I hope you like it. Check out positivecreations.net, positivecreations.net. That was not a glitch. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Blessings.
So I got a one-way ticket to Florida and attended Art Basel on a one-way ticket. And I just, for me to be there and exhaust my interest in being there and to buy another one-way ticket back, I could afford to do that. You know, I'm the DJ of my own fantasy. I could go do that if I wanted.
What year is this?
This was in 2022, the end of 2022.
Okay, that's when we first met.
Yeah, right. So after we first met, and when I went to that shamanic, the thing that, at Moksha,
Yeah,
it was that time.
yeah, my solo show.
So I had come back down there on a one-way ticket after having these dreams, and this is some out-of-the-box hippie shit, guys. You know, I'm not saying that I concrete believe in all this stuff, but I have faith in it, and I'm an artist, and as an artist, I celebrate my relationship with imagination, and sometimes I let imagination take me to places that are outside of reason, and my level of seeing it as crazy is very low because I justify it as being a creative soul having a good time. So I was down there in Florida, and I ran into Verse, Ian.
Yeah.
And I ran into Verse, and I ran into him by chance down there, and I had met him one other time before in New York, and we did mushrooms together, and we got along great.
He's great.
We both talked New York. He's from Brooklyn, grew up in Staten Island. I'm from Brooklyn. I grew up in Staten Island. So we're talking Staten Island to each other. We're talking with New York accents. It's like nice. It feels like home to be talking to somebody who has the same accent as you. And he said, oh, I got to drive my parents want me to drive this car from Florida back up to New York. And I said, well, hey, guess what? I'm going to do an ayahuasca ceremony on New Year's. Why don't you come with me to do that? And I'll drive with you in this car, and we'll do a graffiti road trip on the way up. You drop your car off, and we'll go do ayahuasca on New Year's. And he said, all right, bet. And that's what, it's like I found that thing that I was supposed to do. And we ended up getting on the road. We ended up having, like me, you know that movie, what's that? Johnny Depp, Benicio del Toro movie, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah. I love the two buddies on an adventure kind of movies. You know, I love those kind of things. I'm a sucker for those things. Me and him went on this wonderful graffiti spraycation, not with the burden of having a giant RV, but having a four-door American car to drive up north or whatever. And we had a great time. We painted graffiti. We had a lot of laughs and all that. We prepared for our ceremony. We said hi to and had Christmas with our families. And then I had to drop my dad off at his apartment in Brooklyn. And I had not been to his apartment yet at this point. Every time I would visit him, I'd be at my aunt's house, who's his sister. And I was on my way to drive to upstate New York. And I said, well, look, I can drive my father to his apartment. And you know what? I'll spend the night there on my way to upstate. And when I drove him to his apartment and I went into it, I was mortified. He had not been there in a couple of weeks, and he's an old man, and he's a widower. His wife took care of things in the house, and I could be like a disciplinarian, be like, why are you doing this? Why is this, like, pick up after yourself? But I'm learning to have patience with that. And like when I went into his house, it was disgusting. Like there was roaches everywhere, and there were like mice were just scurrying about, and there was like the fridge was not sealed and it was open, and there was like milk out on the counter, and it smelled in there, and it was messy. It was like extremely messy, and I had to spend the night there. And it's not my standard of clean or normal. I reject that kind of behavior.
Yeah.
And before I could even sit down, I had to clean his apartment. And in his tub, there were roaches in his bathtub that couldn't get out. They were like those water bugs that couldn't get out. And there was like a slow leak in his tub. And he went in there and took a shower. And then came out, business as usual, put his pajamas on. And then I went in there, back into that bathroom, and I saw that he had stepped on these water bugs and crushed them. I said, Dad, you didn't see that you stepped on these water bugs? Wow, what are you talking about? He don't even know. I had to go to Walgreens and go get Raid roach spray and all this stuff. And I pulled his couch out from the wall, and I made a ring of Raid around the bed, and I stayed in my clothes and laid on my back just to give myself enough time for the sun to come up for me to go to upstate New York. I could have went and got a hotel, but it was already late, and it's like laying there, I couldn't sleep, and I had to confront that this man is my father. And yes, I don't owe this man shit. The man has never given me a penny in my life.
Yeah.
I could just abandon him there in this filth or not. And my plan was to come out of that ceremony on New Year's, get some homework from the other side, and go down south and have my adventure and find my purpose. When I went into that ceremony, I ended up having conversations with his parents, the spirit of his parents, my grandparents, and they pushed me. They said that if he stays in this kind of environment, his condition will continue to get worse. That this is not an environment. This is not an environment that is healthy on so many levels, and that it's important for me and my homework to be there with him and to make that apartment be at least at a standard that I could spend the night there. So even though, look, I think I'm a successful artist. I can go and afford to stay at lavish hotels and go and get one-bedroom apartments in any city in the world if I want to.
Yes.
I can go and do all these things. But in this moment and in reflecting in an ayahuasca experience on New Year's, I did it in service to my ancestral line. I went and stayed with him. I made a painting, a painting in his space that it just had nothing on the walls. It was just really raggedy. I cleaned up all the roaches and the insects. I cleaned his sheets. I brought stuff from my RV into the space, and I hung out with him every day. And I exercised his mind. I got him out of the spell, the psychotic spell of everybody loves Raymond King of Queens, and like watching Seinfeld reruns and all this kind of stuff. I got him out of that spell and had experiences with him. I'm a little dysfunctional, a little out of the box, and some of the things I do are a little crazy. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna take my dad everywhere with me, like a kid.
Yeah.
And I just took him with me to go do all sorts of fun, weird things.
Yeah.
And
It bugs me that that is a weird thing to do. That should be normal to, like, you know, nurture our family leaders.
I painted his apartment. Made a painting in his apartment, and then I started painting on the walls. Like the owner of that building does not give a fuck about that building. It's like a rent-controlled building at the edge of Brooklyn, in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, and it is not much to look at. It's fallen apart in some areas. And I said, you know what? I'm sure I'm painting on the walls too. And I started painting on the walls there. And I did enough. And then I said, you know what? I did my service to my ancestors. I did exactly what they wanted me to do. Now I'm going to go and take care of me now. Mm-hmm. I have to go figure me out. And I went off for a year and 8 months to go figure me out. And I said that I was not going to return there until I had a certain amount of money in my bank account and a certain amount of perspective for me to even go and be around my family again. And it's not that I was mad at them or angry at them or anything, but I just needed to go and have my hero's journey. Yeah. I needed to go and have my experience.
Fill your tank again.
And I did. And that following winter, I spent it in Southern California, just bopping my way up and down the Pacific Coast Highway from Tijuana, Mexico to Ventura County, and having a great time. A lot of self-reflecting went into that. A lot of finding like graffiti opportunities in the middle of nowhere, and I had a magical experience. It was great. But when I finally did go through all my adventures and end up home again, I was returning to a father that was further in his decline, that was not walking as fast as I remembered him being able to walk, that was losing his short-term memory, that was shaking at the hands because of possibly Parkinson's, you know, and I said, here I am again, and it's a winter again, and I have this RV, and I could just go take off down south. But I was there again, and I said, this is what I have to do. It's not just doing it for him, it's doing it for me, and not just me, it's doing it for the energy that is family.
You'd almost have to be a monster to abandon him when you see him in.
Well, you could there are ways that we justify all sorts of monstrous behavior. We see it happening on the other side of the world.
Yeah, but everybody closes their hearts, and then they'll bomb a country, and people close up their hearts and be like, well, fuck that person, I got nothing to gain from this. But the goal as a human, artist, etc., is to open up our hearts, and in that situation, you've learned to love this man and help him in any way you can.
Yeah, when we have exercises where we relax and just let go, and let go of the inner dialogue in your mind, the noise of the mind that is exercised every day by our telephones. The scrolling, the noise. We go to bed with noise. We scroll, we say, all right, and turn the phone off. We wake up, we turn the phone on. We engage with many people and all the noise. But if we have a practice, it could be cardio at the gym. If we have a practice of just being able to relax into something and just sort of be with that feeling, that wonderful healing energy can come forward. And in some of my experiences of deep letting go, things will come in that'll show me of possibilities. So like the things that I did last winter in New York, I saw them 3 months before, when I was sitting in the woods in Tennessee, drinking a tea of 9 grams of mushrooms with a friend of mine. I saw, it's like you go deep enough and then you start to see visions of the future, and they're all invitations. It's not like this is what's going to happen no matter what. You see these pictures
Potentials.
of potential scenarios, and you see them, and either you love them or you reject them, or you are indifferent towards them and they don't follow. But I see them, and it says this is what can be. Here are all the steps it takes to do that, and it's up to you to do it. And either you feel motivated to do it or you don't. So I knew that I was going to end up going to New York, and I had a sense of what was important for me to do there. And when I did return there, I was shocked. I was surprised that my father kind of being in a position where he's slipping. And I felt it important to exercise his memory. When you're dealing with someone who's forgetful like that, or they're saying, oh, he's dementia, he has to take these pills, and sometimes he forgets to take his pills, so you got to make sure you give him his pills. I said, well, let me do more. Let me do more. Let me create some fun memories with him. And I ended up painting his whole apartment. I painted the ceilings, I painted the walls, I painted his bed, I painted his cabinets. I made 4 new paintings in there. It's like a rhyme solo show in his apartment right now.
Beautiful.
And it's just sitting there. And it's really trippy. I went and got black lights, and I used fluorescence. So when you put these lights on, and Mastro gave me his music festival light that changes to music. When you put these lights on in this dingy New York apartment, it's like an immersive experience. And I said, oh man, it'd be pretty tight to maybe do some meditations up in here, or do a ceremony up in here, or something like that with my dad. And I kind of did that for a while. I did that project for the whole winter. And a lot of it, I'm just sitting there with him while he's watching, was it Opie and Andy, Andy Griffith show. In the afternoons, he watches Andy Griffith show. I'm just sitting there with him watching Andy Griffith show, and he just sits there like this. And I just can't do that. I can't just sit there and watch TV like that. So I started painting his apartment. Yeah. And I turned it into a whole thing. I must do something.
Yeah.
And
well, that's quite righteous, Joseph, man. Like, you know, like from all the things that like I know you've done, from bombing illegally so many places, and being a tough guy that perhaps, you know, did that, you know, etc. All these accomplishments, to me, that's like the most badass thing you can do. You're like, you know, like have a strength to put yourself through this uncomfortable situation and bring some light to this poor man.
Yeah, I'm exploring right now. What I'm doing is I'm exploring I'm getting to understand, like, whatever it is, whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, I don't know what you call these things from person to person, but I'm exploring that through the experience of having a relationship with my father, and I'm experimenting with his environment. And I'm saying, what impact, if at all, does color in your environment have on your memory and on you as an individual? And his place is, when people go into his place, like, holy shit, what is all this? It's amazing. And they all just want to hang out in there. So I took a place that was repulsive to be in and turned it into a place that people feel like they're
there's something special
walking
about
into
it.
an experience. And I learned a lot, and now I'm on my adventure, and I'm going to return to him when I'm finished doing whatever this cowboy stuff that I do now. I'm going to end up returning to him, and then I might do something special in his apartment, which is weird. You know, it's not something I could feel comfortable doing publicly. I don't want weird people coming into my dad's apartment, but it's like I made an art show in my dad's apartment.
Yeah,
and I had fun doing it.
You did it for the right. You didn't do it to, like, you know, flex or impress anyone. You did it out of the kindness of your heart to uplift the spirit of your father.
I feel that I'm doing soul work. I feel that I'm doing healing ancestral lines. I have a few things to say about this. I'm doing my homework. I'm showing respect to my ancestors. I'm showing respect to my father, even if it's a gesture of unconditional love. I'm also exploring how much does environment play into the role of dementia. And it's also putting me. I've been without, like, a plugged-in home for a while. I've been on this cowboy adventure for quite a few years, and family can feel like home. A particular house can feel like home. But what happens when you're away from family and you're away from that, and you're off on yourself? Well, then you have to feel at home within your body. You have to feel at home within your personality, within yourself, and it's really not about how much money you have in the bank, or how many bedrooms your house has, or if your house has 2.5 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms or not. It all begins with the relationship you have with yourself, and the things that you choose to do each day, if they fulfill you or not. And yeah, I don't know. I've learned a lot through this kind of stuff comes through when I'm having these experiences with my family and with my father. He's a funny guy. I took him right before I left. I was supposed to leave town and start driving south in the RV to go to Dax's art show. He had this really awesome, my friend Dr. Dax had an art show in Atlanta, and it's his first like real solo art show, and it was in an amazing space. The people, ABV Gallery, they ran the space the way you would want a gallery to run the space. They did the jobs that a gallery is supposed to do. And Dax put everything that he had into building this show, and I respect him as a friend and as an artist, and I drove down there, but I cut into my trip to be a chaperone for my dad on a date. I've been trying to set him up with ladies. I made a dating app. I logged on to a senior citizen dating app. He doesn't know how to use the internet or text. So I've had to like make a dating profile for him, and like heart women for him and message women for him and set up dates with him, and like be hiding behind a building and watching him from across the street while he's like walking with a woman on a date. Like I've had to do these things for this man who's slipping, and my hope is that maybe somebody could fall in love with him and take care of him.
Yeah.
You know, but I also, you know, have taken him on other chaperone dates, and I took him to a mutual friend of ours had an art show, and I took him to a hipster party in Williamsburg, and he wore a suit and he had a pimp hat, and he was the life of this party. Like people were just in awe of him. He had ladies dancing with him.
Wow.
And
it's like you brought him back to life.
yeah, and people were coming up to him and shaking his hand because he just started a whole dance party in this situation. And then afterward, we went and got, my Uncle Joe lent me his car, and out of respect to my Uncle Joe, I went and got the car cleaned, and I put him in a massage chair while I got the car cleaned. Then we hit up a fast food drive-through, and then we took the fast food drive-through food to the waterfront in Brighton Beach and just pulled the car up right up to the beach. And on Spotify, they have Twilight Zone radio episodes. And I put one of those things on, and we're just sitting there at 3 in the morning eating McDonald's, which I never eat McDonald's.
Yeah.
But I was having this like kind of like guys' night out experience with my dad. And he ain't never been out, and he got laid that night and all this kind of stuff. He ain't never been out like that in years. And had the most amazing night. And I couldn't stay at his house. I had to get going.
Yeah.
So I double parked the car at a hydrant, and I'm about to bring him up, and he just comes out. And this man has never said it. And this man just said, he sounds kind of like Rocky in Rocky Part 1. He's like, it's like, you know, Joe, you know I love you, right? I don't always say it, but I want you to know that, and I know you know that I love you. And I never heard him say it like that before, because I'd say I love him, he'd be like, yeah, okay. You know, like, but he said it to me, and it was just this.
It was conscious.
It was this moment of acknowledgement of this relationship, and there was something that was very healing in that. You know, and it, again, it's the power of words. It didn't cost him anything to say it, but and it was something that he didn't say because someone else is saying it. He said it because he felt compelled to say it.
He meant it.
And then I brought him upstairs. I made sure he took his pills. I put him in his pajamas, and I left. And came down here, and here I am on my adventure. But you know, the adventure could be whatever it is that we decide it to be. If you want to squash beef with family, well then so be it. If you want to strengthen your relationship with family, create reasons to get together that are not obligatory.
Yeah.
Like you are here on this retreat. And even outside of that, there are other things to consider, and and if you have a hard time with it, there are all these different ways to access that pool of imagination that we are all tethered to. I say that we exist within the imagination of God, and even that term God is a placeholder for whatever it is that we want to call that. You know, we could call it everything, nothing. We could call it the all that is. We could call it whatever the Muslims believe, whatever the Buddhists believe. Whatever that is, we all exist within this network of it. And there is no escaping it. Even if you acknowledge all this as nothing, it is a held together network that we belong to, and it's building and it's expanding. And I feel that with that in mind, that everything is possible, magic is possible, alternate dimensions are possible. Our necessity to devote 1/3 of our day to sleep, to return and recharge into that fourth dimension, into that imagination space. How is it that you go to sleep at night and you have a sense that you're in some scenario that evokes emotion, and you come back and you forget because it drifts into your subconscious? We're not all here. We're not all here in this dimension. We have this sort of relationship of dipping in and out of it. And concepts of life are not all physical. And that which is physical is made up of non-physical consciousness, energy. Inside of our bodies, we have organisms. I don't know how many, we'd have to look it up on Google, but a lot. Billions, millions, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
It all exists. This big network, this big universe exists within one body.
Yes.
You know, and so I'm saying all this to say that all of these spiritual practices, they're exercises to connect to that imagination. They're opportunities to let go. It's as similar as a choice. It can begin and be as simple as choosing the right song to vibe out to. If you don't like country music, well then country music's not your vibe. Change the radio station to something else. Try something else. Maybe you don't want to get together with people and chant and sing and all that. Maybe your relationship with spirituality is hiking to the top of that mountain and sitting under the camping underneath the waterfall for a night. Or maybe it's getting lost and spending 8 hours a day in the garden. Whatever it is to you that can bring you peace and put you at ease, and if it can involve your creativity and imagination, I feel like that is success.
Beautiful words, man. We're gonna leave it at that because lunch is ready, I believe, and I got a class to teach like very soon. Thank you so much.
Can I make a closing statement?
Yeah.
Oh wait, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you so much to YAK Snacks once again for sponsoring.
Thank you, YAK Snacks.
We're feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, you know, like I think that with I'd say one thing about mushrooms that religion and religious practices and spirituality and all these are just ways that we express ourselves in this life. Whether we're smoking elements of the earth or drinking elements of the earth or rubbing on elements of the earth, it all is the earth. The earth itself is this garden, it's this organism, it's this maternal energy that we cultivate and consume and experience. And there is no one way that is the way you have to do it or else or anything like that. I've enjoyed all these different ways of experiencing the earth. I'm an aspect of the earth, and I have respect for this planet, and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's so beautiful, man. Love you, Joe. You're great. Woo! And love you guys. Thanks for watching another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things that, help us reach more people. And I'll see you next time. Blessings. Woo! Next episode, Mike Giant.
There can be these long pauses between thoughts, where again, it's that egoless state, similar to the psychedelic state where you really have no sense of time. You will learn things. And that is kind of the Vipassana way of just trust the practice, do the practice. The things you need to know will come to you. It's just like cleaning house. You have this crazy personality that's going and you're trying to live this life and maintain this image that you think other people want to see. And you do a retreat and it's just this systematic wearing down of just who you think you are. It is like you are going to face the demons of your bloodline generations, dude.
Yeah, man.
Like it's all gonna come up. But you have these tools to just see what it is and let it go. As a graffiti writer, I have an alias, and so I was able to interact with people that didn't know they were talking to me. And oddly, through that, you realize that your actual personality is just as creative.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks, and see you next episode. Peace.